Welcome to my third weekly recap. Today is my 1 year trading anniversary, and I thought that I would start my recap by showing you my metrics for transparency. I have showed my metrics on stream before, but I would like to show it in an actual video as well, just to let you guys know where I'm at in my journey 1 year later. And so I have my calendar pulled up here, and I'm going to start with July because we are going to talk about the month and where I am at currently, and also kind of the hurdles that I've gone through. And we'll get into the trades that I took for the week as well. So I have the month of July pulled up here. You can see that I was actually very close to a break-even month, only down $22, even though I did have more red days than green days. I have these occasional bouts of really good green trades. You can see on the 9th, we had a $63 trade. On the 14th, we had a $41 trade. On the 30th, we had a $61 trade. And then yesterday, on the 31st, for the last day of the month, I had a good $12 trade. And so, not including commissions, we had a pretty good month going for the last couple of weeks, but if you guys watched my second weekly recap, you know how badly I messed up week 4, and there were actually a lot of opportunities here in the last couple of weeks that I could have taken advantage of with my particular strategy. There were many missed opportunities. Any one of these trades on the 20th, 21st, 22nd could have paid for all of my mistakes during this week and made the month a green month. That didn't happen, and that's okay. That just means that there's room for improvement. Another thing that I would like to touch on here is that if we look at the actual trades logged in my journal here, we have some of these green days, and some of these green trades are with smaller share size. So volume of 40 means that I traded with 20 shares in the trade, for example. We have 40 shares, 40 shares, 40 shares. Down here, 40, 40, 40. But my red days are higher volume, 50 shares, 100 shares. So one thing to note about my performance this month is that I've been taking really small share size more recently as kind of experiment with my strategy a little bit, and I'm not so sure, but my share sizes are needing some improvement, because this could have also potentially been a green month if I had just stayed uniform share size across the board, but instead I'm taking bigger share size on the losing trades, probably when I'm getting frustrated, and then I start taking bigger size, which isn't good. And I'm trading smaller share size at the beginning of the day, or on days where I might have only one or two trades, and I'm not getting much out of it. So I was lucky that on some of the bigger trades that I did take bigger share size, like one of the trades this past week that I'll be showing in my recaps, brought up my profits significantly. But I believe that my average winning trades and my average losing trades, my profit loss ratio would be much better if I stayed with uniform size across the board. But right now, my profit loss ratio is just above 1 to 1. It's about $3 ahead of the average losing trade, which is maybe another 25%. Yeah. So just above 1 to 1, maybe like 1.25 to 1 or so. And my accuracy in the past month for July has been 40% to about 60%, which the accuracy doesn't matter as much if you're getting more out of your winners than your losers enough to actually make money from it. Accuracy is something that I will be paying attention to, but I may try going for a profit loss ratio type of strategy in order to make money, and then focus on my accuracy over time, because my accuracy is something that will improve the more experience I get in the market to take better trades. But this is for the past month or so. It's break even, almost over 30 trades. Losing on commissions. One thing I will say about the commissions as well, once again, is that trade zero below 100 shares. Trade zero is the broker that I trade with. Below 100 shares, they charge a fixed commission. So the commissions are naturally going to be higher in comparison to everything else, especially when I have a lot of 20 share trades, right? So yes, I am losing on commissions right now. Yes, I am losing money right now. I'm still not profitable. But I think that there's still a lot of potential for this strategy, and potential as I keep adding more and more setups as well, to widen my breadth of the opportunities that I expose myself to when the market presents them to me. And we'll kind of zoom back here. Maybe we'll do a filter for the last 2 months as well, June and July. So my statistics get a little bit worse. Total gain or loss minus $90 over 60 trades. $84 in commissions, 40% accuracy. I mean, this is about roughly the same. But if we look at the trades, I don't know why that reset. From June to July. We'll go next. We had some bigger winning trades here as well on PLSM. This was a blue sky setup that I got a very nice trade out of, one of my biggest winning trades. And then we had some smaller trades as well. But most of them were a bit more uniform in terms of size, but I hadn't really fleshed out my strategy as much as I have now. Clarifying that, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm only 1 year into my journey and I'm constantly adjusting my strategy. If you go look back at my videos from even just 2, 3, 4 months ago, things weren't looking as fleshed out as they are now. I kind of have a direction that I'm starting to take, and it's showing more and more in the past month. My overall statistics, though, given that disclaimer, I'll show them as well. Over the course of 220 trades since back in March, around when I started streaming at the beginning of April. These metrics include March, April, May, June, July. We have 5 months of statistics logged. Basically the latter half of my trading journey so far. And we're only down minus $84 over the course of 200 trades, trading an average daily volume of 540, so 250 shares a day. I would consider this break even, being a break even trader, losing just a little bit of money. With the commissions, it's a little bit more, of course. But once again, with the caveat that we're trading with smaller share size, and I'm kind of just eating the commissions right now as my participation fee to gain more experience. Since as a Canadian, I don't have good options for many brokers. And look at the drawdown as well. That's 30 days. Let's look at the overall drawdown, win-loss expectation. So cumulative P&L, we started strong there, made 240, 260 bucks. And then we had a long downtrend period where I was kind of struggling. And then we kind of bottomed out here since June. So we bottomed out at negative 140. Popped back up, almost broke even there. We did break even. Started losing again, beginning of July. Popped back up, almost break even again. Back down here to the lows. And now we're back on this uptrend here. So now we're kind of going sideways. We started strong, had some beginner's luck with our small account. And had a downtrend for a while. And now we're kind of going sideways. So we'll see what happens next over the next couple of months, if I can continue going sideways, or maybe I'll end up going on the uptrend, who knows. There's always a possibility that I end up back on the downtrend as well, and this was just a short spurt of luck. That is always a possibility as well. But I would say that this is relatively good for someone who's only been trading for a year. Normally it takes a lot longer, according to a lot of the people I've heard, to have these sort of statistics. And I'm happy that I made it through a full year of trading every day, barely missing any days. I might have missed like 1 or 2 days out of the entire year that I've been trading. Probably 2 days, 2 or 3 days. I'm happy that I'm continuing to work at it and put in the effort that I need to continue getting better. And of course, if you guys want, you can reconcile these statistics. The only ones that you can't reconcile are in March because I started redoing my metrics like a few days in, and then I thought, you know what, I might as well just start streaming. So March is the only month that you can't reconcile to. Ironically, it is, one of my bigger green days. But all of this you can reconcile because I started streaming in April. So all of these days you can go look back at my streams if you want to. I'll just open them here. Take a look. Just for transparency. But with that out of the way, let's get into the VOD review for the past week. So we'll start with Monday, July 27th. When we sat down in the morning, the only things that were really interesting to me were LGHL and DFNS. LGHL was a little bit cheaper, and DFNS was popping through here. We did take a trade on it right away, so we'll take a look at that. My memory might be a little bit fuzzy on it, but you can see that it was our third leading gainer popping through VWAP here. I was taking a look at it for the retest of VWAP. DFNS was an aerospace and defense company, and this is the one that has been going up and up and up over the past week, all the way up to $100. But this was the very start of the move on Monday. And I was just looking at the retest on the 10-second for the pullback. Right there, I take a position on this bull flag pattern on the 10-second. Higher volume buying, lighter volume selling. And I was thinking, set my stop for the breakdown of support, which is around 675 or VWAP, just taking 20 shares, giving it a little bit more room to move since I'm only taking smaller share size. Stop also could have been low of the pullback, which was 680. That'd be fine as well. And I just give it some time to work there. Still holding, even does this ABCD pattern and then makes a pop up. But eventually, I think that it's just stalling out. It kind of did a false breakout on the 1 minute instead of pulling away. You see I'm kind of moving my mouse there. I was thinking that if it were going to pull away, it should have done it right there on that 1 minute micro pullback for the retest of VWAP, being our third leading gainer for the day and not really having too much else in focus. I believe LGHL at the time when I looked at it in the morning. Let's see if I open it up here somewhere. I believe it was kind of selling off, so I thought it was our only leading gainer that made sense to watch. Yeah, see, it was consolidating below VWAP at the time. I thought back here when I took this trade, this might be the in-focus stock at 7 a.m. that might get some volume. But it kind of just does a false breakout, goes sideways, and it eventually does come back up. But I find it to be a bit of a grinder, kind of going sideways, MACD about to turn negatives. I don't take any more trades on that, I don't believe. Even up here, we had descending resistance. It seemed a bit choppy. Look at the 5 minute. And it had a lot of topping tails. So it's very difficult to get a proper read on that. Even up here, we had a higher volume selling candle as it broke that 750 pivot. So I wasn't really liking any of the trades in here. Just grinding around. We don't take any trades on that. EDBL pops up, and this is where I'll start the preface from continuation of last week. I think I did a lot better on my hesitation this week and getting into opportunities that matter, but I still missed a lot of opportunities this week that could have made my green week an even better green week. This is one of the very first examples of that. So right here, we have a bull flag pattern. As it pops up, EDBL is agriculture, and I'm thinking, oh, an agriculture stock? Like, that's not very sexy. But it had a Walmart headline, and I should have been aware of that. And we're already also up 75% on the first pop. With a decent amount of volume, we got increasing volume on the buying, and then we have a pullback here to VWAP. This probably should have been a buy here. According to my strategy, maybe a buy around 565 with a stop of VWAP or stop of 550, or even right there around 550. Stop is low of the pullback. Could have scalped up to 7, and then it does an ABCD pattern and continues to go higher. So either the bull flag or the ABCD pattern for the bounces off of VWAP in the 90 of May on the 10-second. According to my strategy right now today, these should have been buys. Even though that it had a big range, these stocks with bigger range also have a lot of opportunity. Although they take a lot of risk, there's a lot of reward as well. So I should be jumping in these with smaller share size, even if it's 20 shares, right? From 550 all the way to 7, $1.50 a share. Like, that's pretty good. 30 bucks on a trade. Right here, if I jump in at 650 or 625 with a stop of 6, this pops and goes all the way to 9. $2.50 a share. It even goes up to $9.50, so $3 a share. So that could have been a really good trade right there. But I was stuck on the fact that it was an agriculture stock and it had huge ranges. I'm still not super comfortable about buying stocks with ranges this big. It still makes me a little bit nervous that I could get smoked on them, because I have gotten smoked on them in the past. Whenever I see a stock with ranges this big, my hesitation and my fear of loss does get triggered. I have to be aware of that. But if you can't handle the risk, then you just got to take smaller share size until you can. And you build up that sort of resilience. So right there, we missed 2 potential opportunities for scalps. So our tally is 2 for the week. Not good so far on Monday. We did get a tiny winner on DFNS, a 4-cent winner, but that's barely anything. So it pulls back right here, and I'm thinking it's too extended. We got higher volume selling on the 1 minute. So at this point, I don't take any extra trades on it. I just kind of leave it alone at that point. Right here, it pops up again. Breaks through VWAP. I don't take the trade for the breakthrough VWAP because VWAP breaks, like buying breaks aren't a part of my setups yet. So I wait for a proper pullback here. And right down here, I take an entry for the higher volume buying and the lighter volume selling on this micro pullback, but I mess up my execution. I believe that this was a good, fine entry according to my updated strategy. Buying down here, stop is the low of the pullback, which is about 840, 839. If I had bought down here as it was pulling back around 850, right there, maybe 857, I could have quickly scalped up as it popped up to 9, and then sold the rest break even as it rejected. So right there, I could have sold some at 9. Could have taken 50 shares, gotten 50 cents on 25 shares, which isn't bad, right? It's still a little bit of money to scalp out. What happens instead is I kind of buy in too high. I think I ended up hotkeying in there. Let's see yeah, I pressed Alt W, which is my hotkey to get in immediately. I ended up filling 20 cents too high. And so this kind of messes up everything. And at the same time, you can see I was kind of clicked into this window, so highlighting it. When I use my Alt W hotkey to buy in, it popped up a window on me. You can't see it on my level 2 here because this isn't a screen share, this is a window share, but it had a window pop up and it distracted me. So there were 3 things that distracted me in this trade at the same time. 1, I got filled too high. 2, now I have to adjust my stop because the low of the pullback is too far away. Like I have to consider where my stop is going to be now because I got filled in 20 cents higher. My stop should be 20 cents higher if I had originally intended to get in 20 cents lower. So I have to recalculate my stop. I have a window popping up now trying to figure out like what's going on. Is my level 2 messing up? What's happening? And so the quick second that I needed for that scalp, because this was very quick on its pop. See, I buy there and it pops and it immediately rejects very quickly. So I'm distracted, and then now suddenly we're back to break even here. I probably should have just sold, but I think I was too distracted that I didn't even notice the rejection, and it just drops all the way back down here in with a big range. So it ends up with a 20-cent loss. Not a huge deal because it's only 20 shares, but nonetheless, it could have been a winning trade just for the scalp up to 9. That hurts our accuracy a little bit. I don't take any more trades here because MACD crosses over. ENTX, I think its float was too high. Not interested in anything here. And I don't think we get any more opportunities for the day, and I just shut it down. EDBL did halt up at the open, but I don't like trading stocks as they're halting around, so we ignore that. Moving on to the 28th. We didn't really have much on the scanners when I sat down. We had INLF, which was trading below VWAP, Chinese stock, no news, FIRY, a bit higher priced, higher float. We are watching them, but it doesn't look too fantastic. DFNS is continuing from the previous day, but it's too expensive for me to trade at this point. I leave it alone. I don't think that there was anything. We had DFNS pop up a little bit, but I just ignored it. You can see me looking through some chart stuff on stream there. FIRY, I was watching potentially for the break of the pivot, even though it was a little bit more expensive because it was close to our top leading gainer. So I thought that maybe if it could break the pivot that it could be in traders focus, but I don't end up liking the price action, and I don't think I take any trades on it. BIYA wasn't up enough on the day, and it was continuation from a previous move. You see relative volume on it is very light, and we're on the backside of this move from all the way up at 612. So I don't think I don't take any trades here on any of this. FIRY could have been okay for this bull flag pattern, but I don't take any trades until the open. This is my first trade at the open on BIYA, as it pops up and it breaks pivot and it breaks high of day, high of the previous day, I think. The after hours move, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the after hours move was 612. So it breaks there, and I buy for the ABCD pattern right here on the hold of the previous after hours high. I take just 20 shares, you know, the conservative size that I talked about earlier. Higher volume buying, lighter volume selling, ABCD pattern for the hold of the after hours high. And we have this kind of 1 minute candle with a bottoming wick. I'm thinking that this could potentially squeeze up to 650 or maybe even go into a halt up because the halt band is pretty close. So what happens here is I hold. I'm just waiting for it to break out. I'm giving it a little bit of time. But I'm thinking right here that it's stalling out. Stalling out a little bit too much to my liking. And eventually I start thinking that I think I'm gonna bail on this. If it pops up and gives me an out to get some profit on this, I'll probably just take the profit because I'm sensing that this thing is eventually gonna dump. And right there it pops up, and I just try to get out on the ask, get out and get filled 5 cents higher, but immediately after I get out, it pops up to 660, and then it ends up rejecting and going down, doing a tweezer top up at 660. But I think that this was an example of something that is kind of like, should I have relied on my intuition there, or should I have relied on an exit indicator to get out of the trade? Because if I look back here, there wasn't really any reason for me to get out. We still had higher volume buying than selling across the board here. So right there. So I got out like right there. So if I look at this chart in hindsight, there's nothing to indicate that I should have gotten out of the trade. Like, yes, it was stalling out. It didn't perform as I expected. We have a 3,000, almost a 4,000 share bidder there. We have another 2,000 share bidder down at 629. We have higher volume buying than selling on the 10-second chart. We have higher volume buying than selling on the 1-minute chart. We just had a 5-minute candle close, and that 1-minute candle just closed. So there's no reason for me to get out right here, and it's continuing to hold a 9 EMA. If this continues on this trend, then it should pop up and continue to break through. So I think that I kind of jumped the gun on this here and sold too soon. Otherwise, I could have made 30 cents a profit on this trade. Even though it was small share size, it doesn't matter, right? We're just talking about the process, not the outcome, not the profitability or the dollar amount. I think that I should have taken profits up here, and then the exit indicator on this would have been this double top at 660 as it failed to break through. Right? Earlier there was no exit indicator. Right here, there's a tweezer top, and it breaks down. If it breaks back down 650, then you take the rest. Could have been a 30-cent winner. I think I got the right entry, didn't get the right exit. And so we don't take any more trades. I mean, this stock does end up rejecting afterwards, ends up dumping. So my instinct was correct, but the exit timing was wrong. And the rest of the stocks were kind of just halting around all day. So no more trades. So this is the 29th. So the stocks in focus on this day were AMIX, DFNS, which had continued moving, STFS, GMM. They're all stocks in the price range that I like to trade with lower floats, up between 30 to 60% on the day. So there were some things to watch here, but most of them were trading below VWAP. So I'm watching them for the breaks through VWAP. AMIX pops through, but I'm thinking that we had a higher volume selling candle in the middle there. If I look at this right here, why didn't I take this? So this didn't have any news, which was a little bit of a problem, but it was our leading gainer. I think I probably should have taken this trade here for the dip at 460. It does end up popping to 475. I probably could have taken 100 shares. Yeah, it pops up to 480 there. I probably could have taken 100 shares. I think this was another missed opportunity. Even though it was pretty far below the highs, which was all the way up at 530, this would have been our in focus stock. You see, we end up almost crossing to red there on that 1-minute candle, which would have been an exit indicator for me because the selling volume is higher than the, well, not higher, but it's pretty close to the buying volume. So this is going to be a grinder. But there was still some opportunity maybe to get 15 cents of profit out of this, just for a little bit of a cushion on the day. So slight missed opportunity. And then we do, we have a lot of topping tails, but we kind of do an ABCD pattern with all these topping tails. If you look at the 1 minute, higher volume buying, lighter volume selling. kind of a flat top around just above 480, 484 or so, or 482. So we're watching it. We get a nice big green candle up here. And this is something that I will have to start considering to kind of expand the breadth of my setups that I'm willing to take. Flat top breaks are in my playbook, but I haven't been focusing on them as much recently as I've been focusing on the volume profile and pullbacks for my entries to get in. However, I do have to start keeping in mind these flat top breaks on both the 1 minute and the 10-second charts, where, I mean, the risk is pretty well defined. You get in for the break of a certain level or the break and hold of a certain level. Your stop is going to be just below that level. So if it breaks 482 here, and I set my stop just below that level of resistance becomes support, maybe I set it to like 478 or something, the risk reward on it can be pretty tight. Even though you do run the risk of getting in on false breaks, but as long as you have a breakout or bailout mentality, they're usually not too bad. You see kind of some of them just end up going right away in your favor. If you buy for the break of 482, it's already up 10 cents. And you have a little bit of cushion in the driver's seat to see if you want to add for the hold. You might take some profit up here at 5. See if you want to add for a hold of that level of support. And I do end up taking a trade on this. So higher volume buying, lighter volume selling on this pullback and the hold of 486. And my cost base is a little bit high up at 494. But it's not too bad. It's only 8 cents away from support. So I'm expecting this to finish doing a pattern and then break through 5. Maybe it might do a micro pullback. But I end up getting out too early again here. Where did I get out? I ended up throwing something up on the ask there because I was thinking, oh, well, this is stalling out. But this is the same problem that I had the previous day, where I'm using stalling out as a measurement for me to get out of the trades, but that's more of an emotional bias than an actual indicator for me to get out. Like if I look right here, I'm throwing my order up on the ask, but what is the exit indicator to get out? Like, yes, we had some topping tails here. It's like popping up and kind of rejecting a little bit. And we did have a 5,000 share seller there on the ask. So that might have been my other exit indicator that I'm thinking, well, maybe I should try getting out because we have some sellers popping up. But 5,000 shares can get eaten pretty quickly for a top leading gainer. Like, that's not that bad. We have a 1 minute micro pullback here holding this 486 level. So there really shouldn't be a reason for me to get out here. I probably should have continued holding for the resolution. It does end up popping up there to 520. So this also could have been maybe a 30-cent winner, a 25 or a 30-cent winner, taking a bit bigger share size other than just 20 shares because the ranges on this weren't very big at all. Risking maybe 10 cents to make 20, 25 cents. With that sort of logic, my share size probably should have been 100 shares. And this does end up dumping. So once again, I mean, my instinct is that these things aren't, when they're doing this type of price action, it's not going to have a huge reward to them unless they somehow start pulling away. The fact of the matter is that I can still get some reward off of these. Even if they're not a huge reward, I should be waiting until an exit indicator to exit. So what would be the exit indicator on this, right? Probably take some profit up here as it breaks 5 to R. And then we'll see if any sellers pop up here as it starts pulling back. The exit indicator will probably be a breakdown of 5, a seller break even, or a big seller on the level 2. Let's see if we can spot anything here. I'm just letting it run, letting the VOD run. So right there, 10,000 share seller pops up, 9,000 share seller. So that would be an exit indicator. Especially because they're kind of popping up as it's going lower and lower. 35,000 share seller. Yeah, as soon as that popped up, it dumped. So that would have been either the 10,000 share seller or the 34,000 share seller would have been an exit indicator to get out. But I still would have been green on the trade because I would have taken some profit up here. Maybe I would have scaled out more when I saw that 10,000 share seller or exited completely all the way up at 510. It could have been a 20-cent winner. And we had PCSA pop up very briefly. I didn't take a trade on this because it was still very light volume in the first candle. 40,000 shares of volume. So we don't take a trade on this pullback when volume is this light, especially because the selling candle was about equal to the buying candle. Even though it pops up from $5 up to $6, this is a very risky trade to take. And by the time any volume ends up coming into it, it pulls back too far. So we're not interested in that because we cannot manage our risk. We have NCRA pop up, and I ended up losing money on this trade, on the trades that I took on this, when I probably shouldn't have. So first of all, let's look at this particular pullback right here, because this is actually kind of similar to another one of the stocks that we had move recently, where it does a big pullback, it pops up, pulls back, and then it ends up breaking through anyways, even though we have like higher volume selling candle here on the 1 minute. On the 10-second, we actually have higher volume buying than selling. The peak buying volume is bigger than the peak selling volume. It pops up, pulls back. We're still up 26% on this. I haven't changed to level 2 over, so I don't know if that's really updated. But if it breaks through there, then this will be up 30%, and it will be our third leading gainer. So it would be in traders' focus. The one thing I do need to start considering in terms of my setups is whether I want to buy down here or if I want to start buying breaks as well. Like we have this big wick and this big selling candle. If price reclaims that big selling candle, that is a bullish sign. So, I mean, this is kind of questionable whether I should have taken this trade or not, but it does end up breaking and going all the way up to $3. But I don't take a trade on it. And here I was looking for a micro pullback, but it doesn't really give us a clean one. It gives us a little bit of just a 10-second micro pullback before it pops through there. I'm still not so good at capturing these 10-second micro pullbacks. I usually am waiting for a bull flag or an ABCD pattern. But that's something that I'll have to try and get used to as well if I can. So we have a false break, and now I'm not very comfortable about it up here because we got these topping tails. I don't take any trades on it because I don't see any patterns that I like with these spikes in selling volume. It ends up coming all the way back down and dumping. It does a sub VWAP trap, which used to be one of my setups that I don't really trade anymore. But maybe I should start considering. And it pops all the way back up through high of day. And right here, I end up taking a trade on this micro pullback. So it pops through high of day, pulls back. We have higher volume buying than selling. Seems to be basing out around 285, 280. So I buy in there with a stop of 278 to see if it can pop back up to 350. But it ends up breaking my stop and I get stopped out before anything meaningful happens. Right here, I'm looking at the 1 minute chart now though, and I'm thinking about re-entry. So if this is doing a bull flag pattern, because it kind of broke the low of 278 and then got bought back up. So I thought maybe there is buying support here. Higher volume buying than selling. So I'm thinking about taking a re-entry for first candle to make a new high in the 1 minute. I end up buying and it stops me out again. So at this point, I'm kind of like, well, why didn't this work? Like it seemed like a good setup. It just didn't end up working. Maybe there's heavy selling on the stock. And then someone told me that this is an H.C. Wainwright stock, an underwriter, and it does have a history of popping and dropping. So I thought, okay, well, maybe this should go on my no trade list. Maybe I just shouldn't trade it anymore. Because I already took 2 losses on it, and I don't want to continue losing on it over and over and over again. And so I don't take any more trades for a while. It ends up selling off. VIVK pops up, but I think it's on the backside of a bigger move. Not really interested in it. And then NCRA ends up curling back up. It breaks through. And this actually is one of my newer setups that I just included in the Discord recently that I might have taken today. And so we have a stock that made a big move and then does a long period of consolidation, comes up, attempts to break a certain pivot level, fails this 278 level, and then the next time that it tries, MACD crosses positive and we break that level, then it has a clean resolution, and it does. And it goes all the way up to 350. So this could have been a curling pattern trade, but I don't take it, like I said, because I already took 2 losses on it, and I'm thinking, well, maybe this just isn't the right stock to trade. I think Ross ends up taking this trade, though. I was looking at the micro pullback right here, but we have higher volume selling on the 10 seconds, so that's a no confirmation for me. Ends up breaking through anyways. Right here we have a big topping tail. It pulled back really far, and so I wasn't comfortable getting in anywhere on this, unfortunately. If I were to buy anywhere other than that curling pattern, I probably would buy right here for this ABCD pattern. Still higher volume buying than selling. And it ends up popping through all the way up to 450. So it would have been a good entry. But we ended up missing this one as well because I took 2 losses on it earlier, and you know, I got it into my head that maybe this just wasn't the right stock for selection. Packaged foods industry, H.C. Wainwright Company, big past history of popping and dropping. I wasn't sure, but I think it was correct to just trade like an algo and continue taking the setups that were presented to me. We end up with a losing day on this one, I think. We actually took one more trade right here. Let's see what I did here. I was thinking that this could have been a 5-minute breakout, I think. We had a 5-minute doji candle, and we had higher volume buying than selling. It popped up and was doing a little bit of a cup and handle at this 380 level. I was thinking that it might have had a chance to break through 380, and if it did, then it'd be a 5-minute breakout pattern and a curl back up to 450. Like a pop back up to 450. It ends up popping up again, failing to break through. And I think we get out of this with just a small winner. I end up exiting because I'm thinking, well, it's tried enough. I gave it enough time. Didn't end up working. But once again there, I think I exited a little bit too early. Technically, double topping is an exit indicator for me. And MACD was close to crossing over. I don't think it was entirely unjustified, but it does end up popping through and going up to 4. But it ends up failing anyways, going lower. So not a huge mistrade. I don't think there was anything wrong with that exit. So, well, this day, I suppose I took a lot more trades than I normally do, and I took a lot more losses than I normally do as well. I said on stream that part of the reason for that was because I wanted to get rid of my hesitation. So I was taking anything that I thought was a good setup. I wasn't trading recklessly, but I was trying to trade off of volume confirmation to start getting rid of the hesitation that's causing me to miss trades. And so this was one of my higher trade days. Let's see what I did right here. So this was my next entry right here. So we popped through that 380 level. And I was thinking that above $4 was a pivot. We had higher volume buying than selling. And so I was buying to anticipate maybe that breakthrough 4 and the curl of MACD. But I think I didn't wait for MACD to turn positive, and this ends up dumping and being another losing trade, fortunately. I also took a trade on VIVK up here. Let's see. Yeah, I bought on this sort of ABCD, looking for the breakthrough. I think I end up getting a small win on this. Yeah, just a small win. Selling up at 314, 315 as it fails to break through. And then selling the rest nearly break even. By the way, it's never a good sign when you can't remember your trades from the past week. So, right, like a lot of these trades, I don't exactly remember what I did. So I'm kind of remembering them with you on this particular day. And if you feel like you're having that a lot, if you normally have a good memory and you feel like you're having that where you're looking back in your VODs and you're like, oh yeah, I did take this trade. It can mean that you're over trading. And I think I over traded a little bit on this particular day. I don't think any of the setups were bad. You know, they did meet my framework, but they weren't particularly memorable trades either. They were just kind of grinder trades. So let's see. Did I take any more positions? I think I took some at the open here before I finally ended up giving up. Amex pops up there. One thing I will say about Amex is that I think that this was another missed opportunity right back here. So I switch over and I see Amex broke VWAP and it has this big topping tail in the 1 minute. But if you look at the 10-second, it pops up, retests VWAP, pops up again, pulls back, fails to break below VWAP, higher volume buying than selling. And as it tests one more time with higher volume buying than selling without breaking down, I think that this was probably an okay entry stop of VWAP for the curl back up. Because it tested VWAP 3 times and failed to break lower. This obviously had a lot of buying support. And it ends up curling all the way back up. From around 480 all the way up to 596 and going into a halt. So I think I missed the opportunity on that one, missed the gun. Right here as well on halt resumption, I think that this could have been another entry as it pulled back to that 550 level. Maybe for the breakthrough 6, or even just buying the pullback there on halt resumption. But I'm not used to trading the open, and so I was kind of waiting for a very clear pattern. We don't end up getting it. I think I do. Do I take a trade on this? I don't think I take a trade on that, but I take a trade on GMM as it's popping up. Breaks through VWAP, goes up quite a bit, moving quickly. Chinese stock up 57%. And I see higher volume buying than selling. And it does an ABCD pattern as well. So I buy down here, 381. Yeah, right around there is my entry on this ABCD pattern. Looking for the squeeze up through 4. And it sort of grinds higher. Grinds higher. I ended up exiting right up here because it's not pulling away and we have higher volume selling on the 10-second, doing a bit of a false break of that previous tweezer top. And I think my instinct was right on this because it ends up dumping. I get a small winner, just a 10-cent winner. Not a huge winner, but it is a winner nonetheless. And I finally capitulate and end the day after taking one last trade and losing on it. I take another trade on GMM up here, I think. So let's see what happens. So GMM drops down, fails to break below VWAP, does a bounce off of VWAP, and then it spikes all the way up to 430. And I'm looking at this pivot here, 409, thinking that I could get in for the hold of 409, higher volume buying, lighter volume selling. And I take a position on that bull flag. It spikes up there for a moment, and then it dumps, and I get stopped out for 14-cent loss. And at this point, I'm like, well, I've taken so many trades today. I'm down on the day. Let's just call it a day. And I end this day with, what was it? A $22.87 loss. So on Monday, it was a negative $2.6 loss, just 2 trades. On Tuesday, it was a $1.2 green day. So we're kind of break even, minus $2 in the red on the first 2 days, and then we take a $22 loss on Wednesday. Okay, well, that's fine. We can recover from that. Not a big deal. And some of the better trades that I had were in the past couple of days, on the 30th and 31st, that ended up allowed me to end with a green week. So in the morning, we had Nui, I think was our main stock for the day. There wasn't really much else that happened on this day. But we're pretty much just watching Nui all day as it was grinding around a VWAP. It failed to really go any lower. Kind of breaks just below VWAP, comes back up. EFNS was moving, but it was way too expensive for me to trade, and it was on very light volume, so not really anything else. STKH and Stack were both moving, but they were both far below the highs or on continuation. And STKH in particular, I was thinking, like, why is this even moving? If you look at the news, it was just a recent reverse split, and they're just talking about their plant-based meat like last time on July 14th. I'm thinking, like, is this really, is this really strong enough for people to be interested in? I didn't think it was strong enough, so I didn't trade it. Like, who eats plant-based meat? I certainly don't. I don't really know many people who do. It could be a bias on my part, but I don't know. It makes sense for it to be moving to me. We're just watching Nui all day. And right around this time, I noticed on my side chart that it popped up finally, and it broke through high of day after consolidating for a long period of time. So I pull up the chart. It would have been nice if I had it open right away. Probably should have had it open to get in right on the break, 440 if possible. But we get in on a micro pullback instead. So we're waiting for a micro pullback here. So this is our top leading gainer other than DFNSW, which is kind of a sympathy stock. Not really interested in, nobody's trading that. So I'm thinking that this is definitely the stock in focus right now. So I'm looking to get in on a micro pullback. And I notice that it's holding the low of 480 there. But we're a little bit extended on the 1 minute chart, so I'm waiting for the 9 EMA to get a little bit closer to take my entry to make sure that it doesn't just fail and roll over. Because it popped up from from 430 all the way up to 480. And right there I take my entry. So I'm noticing ABCD pattern, higher volume buying than selling. We're about to close on this 1 minute candle, 4 seconds left. So I want to buy early to anticipate the move. And I see it drops down a little bit and then it gets bought back up. I'm thinking, okay, this is the right spot to buy. And it immediately goes in my favor. It pops all the way up to 550. I take some profit there at 550 because we're far above our target R. And I'm thinking, now we're in the driver's seat. Now we can let this thing run a little bit longer. And I'm thinking that we're going to probably do a 1 minute pullback at this point because we're extended. But let's see what happens on the 10 second. I don't add on the 10 second for this this pattern. I'm thinking that we're extended. And I want to see what it does here. If it does an ABCD pattern and goes higher, or if it rejects. And it kind of rejects off of 550 there. It breaks up and then the seller's popping up something. I'm going to take a little bit more profit so that I can let the stock pull back and do a 1 minute pattern. And then I can add back if it gives me a proper 1 minute pattern. So I'm thinking that my stop is probably below the low of this previous pullback. If it pulls beyond that point, then I think that I would probably cut the rest. But I let it work to see if it does a proper pattern. And I'll just fast forward a little bit. So it pulls back there and I notice that it's holding that 520, 525 level. And I add 20 shares back right here. I added 20 shares back because I'm looking at the 1 minute chart. I'm thinking that it's holding that 520 level. And if it's holding and it's forming a bull flag pattern, this is a very nice bull flag pattern on the 1 minute with much higher volume buying than selling, that we're going to get a pop back up, probably up to retest high of day at the very least. If not, then we're going to pop through and go all the way up to 6 or 650. And it does as I expect. I take a little bit of profit as it near high of day as it pops up. And I let the rest run to see how far it can go. We don't know what it's going to do at this point. It could go all the way up to 7 or 8. We don't know. So I just let it do its thing, and then I wait for an exit indicator. And my first exit indicator was as these big sellers are popping up here. So I start scaling out as it's pulling back quickly because it popped all the way up to 593 and now it's at 550. We see a 10,000 share seller pop up. I scale out and then I just decide, you know what, I'm just going to cut the rest. It pulled back way too far. So I act quickly on that and I just cut it. And it ends up going sideways, so it was the right choice. So that was a really nice trade. This was the trade that primarily helped me be green on the week. Not including my trade on Friday, which was yesterday, but this was primarily the good trade that I had for the week. And I mean, it curls back up here, but I'm thinking that since we had this big selling candle, like that was a really big rejection, I'm thinking that it probably needs to consolidate for a while before I'm comfortable taking any positions on this. And as I expected, it pops up and does a rejection candle there. So now we have a pivot. I'm thinking that maybe if it breaks that pivot above 566 or 575, that we could have a nice move if it curls back up, if MACD turns positive, but it doesn't really do that all day. PN Chinese stock also popped up in the meantime, but it was too high priced for me. It was too risky, big spreads. So I'm not interested in that. Nui pops up at the open, but we don't trade the first few minutes of the open as a rule because it's a bit too choppy and my trade zero lags. So by the time there's any opportunities on this, we have higher volume selling on the 10 second and this just ends up dumping. No more trades for the day. We got a really nice trade on Nui. And that's that. That ends up being a $61.92 green day. And then we have the last day of the month, Friday. Most of the stuff on the scanners on this day were penny stocks, or they were sympathy stocks, AXTL, AXTU, AXTX. I don't think there were stocks. They were shares of AXTI. I'm not really sure how that works, but we had a lot of stuff on the scanners that were just taking up space and that I wasn't interested in. CUICU was grinding up, but it was the bids and the asks were way too stacked. I didn't have any confidence in this at all, so we don't take any trades on it. AZIO pops up very briefly there, but it pops and dumps before it got any significant volume or did a proper pullback pattern. So no trades on that. KUST does pop up very briefly, breaks through VWAP. It's too cheap, and KUST never really trades that well. It's usually kind of a pop and drop stock from my experience. So I just don't take any trades on it. And our first big opportunity was FCUV, and this one made a huge move. And this is the stock that's gonna make me change my mind a little bit about certain things that I have to keep in mind. So this makes a huge move, up 110%, 120% within the first couple of 1 minute candles here. So it's moving very quickly, and I'm thinking immediately like, all right, well, I need to consider getting a pullback on this thing, but I need to get in with light shares. It pulls back from 425 all the way down to 323. And before it forms a proper pullback pattern, it gets bought all the way back up. So I was thinking about maybe buying down here at 350, but it goes early before I can take a position. And it's got huge range. And now we have a big 10-second selling candle on this pullback right here. So I don't take any positions on it because I'm thinking, well, maybe it's extended now. It's up 150%. It just had big selling volume. And one other thing about this as well, by the way, is that I didn't know what the news on this was right away. If you look at the charts at my charts watcher scanners, there's no news that I can see on it. The last news was 10/27, October 27, 2025. So you can see me, I click on the trading view charts right there to see what the news was. And then I'd find that, okay, it's Force Focus Universal announces deterministic AI forms. It was from 4 hours ago. I had to get my news from another source. So that kind of delayed my reaction time a little bit too, and why I didn't take the earlier pullback down near 350. So I'm kind of figuring out what the news is, trying to decide whether I want to buy into this because of that big 10-second selling volume candle. Right here, it kind of dumps down a little bit. And we have a tweezer top now on the 1 minute between the buying volume and the selling volume candle, which are about equal volume. The selling candle a little bit lighter. But I'm not so sure. But I think looking back at this, I probably should have taken this for the breakthrough 5 because this is a flat top on the 10-second, and this is I mean, yes, it is a tweezer top, but a break of a tweezer top is potentially really strong. It could be a bullish sign. So I'm thinking that maybe I should consider this a flat top break for the future. Although we did have a higher volume selling candle back here, it did pop back up with buying volume, and then in the subsequent red candles it had decreasing selling volume. So I probably should have bought this for the breakthrough 5, breakout or bailout mentality. That if I buy a 5 and then it drops down immediately, then I just get out. Trade with smaller size because it's riskier. Trade 20 shares. Right here, I could have bought 515, stop of 5, and it would have worked immediately. So now we kind of missed the boat on this. I'm looking at this pullback and thinking that it's extended and now it needs to do another 1 minute pullback. So I don't buy here, but I could have bought here at 678 with a stop of around 660 for the pop back up through 7, possibly. Just a quick scalp would have worked up to like 725 or so. Those are possibilities that I could look at doing in the future. It pops up even to 730 there for a brief moment. So although I'm thinking that this needs to do a 1 minute pullback, which is correct, it is also correct that that could have been just a quick scalp. We do an ABCD pattern, pop up a little bit up to 750 again. So that could have once again been another buy for a scalp, even if it needs to do a 1 minute pullback. It could have been a quick scalp. Now we're forming a 1 minute bull flag, but we broke the previous low on this pullback. I was a little bit worried about that, which is why I didn't buy. That we ended up breaking down further. So I was thinking that are we just doing a lower low here and then this is going to be a bear flag? Which it was. It ended up doing a false break. However, once again, a quick scalp could have been done on this. Even though it did break a lower low, it popped up to 750. 770. So there were still lots of opportunities on this, even though, yes, there were still sellers up there. As long as you are aware of that and you react quickly, you still can get some scalps on it. But this is more advanced stuff. So I'm not really comfortable doing it quite yet. So my instincts on this were half correct, but it ends up consolidating for a while. And the low of the pullback was down near $6 or so, I think. So it pulls back here, low of 646, fails to break any lower. Yeah, it looks like the low of the pullback was around 650. So it's forming a green doji candle here, but once again, we have higher volume buying than selling on the 10-second. We have higher volume buying than selling on the 1 minute. It just did 2 false breakouts in a row. So I wasn't thinking about buying right here, even though it does form that 1 minute doji candle and breaks through. I wasn't really thinking about buying there. But I think Ross bought for the breakthrough 8, which is just the breakthrough high of day here. We do a doji candle right underneath $8, which is high of day. I was thinking about buying here, but once again, higher volume buying than selling, so I was worried about a false breakout. It ends up breaking and spiking through pretty powerfully all the way up to 10. So I could have still bought it, considering how strong the stock had already proven itself to be. As someone mentioned in one of my YouTube comments, I mean, when you see a stock moving this quickly with this much buying, that's usually a pretty good sign that maybe I should start, taking the risk. Because this is indeed where a lot of the opportunities are for big parabolic momentum. But overall, I mean, I'm looking for very specific setups right now, and none of these entries really fit what I was looking for. Unfortunately, even though it did move up 369%, according to my current strategy, there wasn't really a good fit for what I was looking for. And I think this is, at the end of the day, this is more of a problem of expanding my setups to include entries on breaks of high of day. which I used to do, but I haven't done recently because I found myself getting in on a lot of false breaks. But I think that I can begin adding those as I gain more experience on which ones are good to add on breakouts for and which ones aren't in terms of stocks, my stock selection. But we don't end up getting any trades on this on the front side of the move. Up here, it forms a bull flag. I think that this might have been like one of the only opportunities that I could have considered. But I just wasn't sure about it. It's kind of a higher volume selling candle in the 10-second once again. I feel like we're already at 400%. Like, how much higher could this really go? And it does end up doing a false breakout once again. Like grinding higher. Grinds all the way up to 10 with a bunch of topping tails. I just felt like this was a really whippy stock, and making a mistake on it could get me smoked. So fortunately, I missed that whole front side of the move. Ends up consolidating for a long period of time, and I finally get a trade on it on the back side here. Good trade. So this pattern that I added to my setups in my Discord is a curling pattern where after it makes a stock makes a strong move and consolidates for a long period of time and forms a pivot. So we kind of formed a pivot at 9:15 from the previous 5-minute candle back here. Came up to retest it once while MACD was still negative and failed. And the next time it holds and comes back up to retest that level with MACD curling positive is where I'm a buyer for the entry through 9:15. So right here on the 10-second, does a cup and handle pattern, and then it curls back up anyways. And as it breaks through $9 there, I'm thinking that this is a curling pattern. So I'm looking to take a buy right here on the breakthrough 9, in case buy a little bit early in case it breaks through 9:15 without me. But it does end up pulling back and retesting 9, forming a bit of a doji candle. That could have also been a good entry right here on this little doji candle that forms on the 10-second, or maybe even an add. I only bought 20 shares on this, very small size, but I could have added to it for the hold. And this ends up being a good buy. It goes all the way back up to 10, but double tops at 10.27, and I end up taking some profit. One thing to note here is that I did try taking profit up here as it popped up to 10, but it pulled back really quickly from 10 all the way down to 9.60. So I ended up getting filled 30 cents below where I intended, which is pretty bad. But I am using sell on the bid to get out quickly right now. Maybe I should start using sell on the ask into strength a bit more. But that is something to consider, since I am getting filled a little bit low sometimes. But it double tops there and got big ranges. Take a little bit more profit up at 9.86. Once again, I get filled because the spreads are bigger on this, and I'm hitting the bid. I'm getting a bunch of slippage on my exits here. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take profit up at 10, but that's not really where I'm getting filled at. I'm getting filled at 9.86 right here instead of 10, right? Because of the 10-cent spreads. So one thing to keep in mind for higher price stocks is that selling on the ask over the long term is going to net me more cents per share. Even though I'm selling on the bid right now because I don't want to have to deal with my orders not getting filled while I'm still learning, and it clams me up. Selling on the ask early is probably going to be better for cents per share in the long run that I might have to start getting used to. And yeah, I end up taking the rest there as it pops up. So I hold to see if this could break 10.27, because we're holding the 9 EMA, we're holding this previous level down there at around 9.70, 970 or so, or where was it? Yeah, 966. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it does a cup and handle in the 10-second and it breaks through. But it pops up through 10 there. Like it pops up through 10 right here and it fails again. So it does a false break through 10. And I think, no, I'm just going to take the rest. Take the rest of my profit because it seems to be doing false breaks up here. I don't think that it's going to break through and go any higher, which I was correct. And so this day ended up being a $12 green day, putting me up at 49.77 green for the week. So all in all, if I open back up my trader view here, so 49.77 green for the week, a lot better than some of my previous weeks recently, and definitely much better turnaround than last week. But I'm pretty optimistic about my strategy, and I'll continue to work at it and improve it, and try to capture as many of the opportunities as possible. I started a tally on my side monitor about how many opportunities I actually missed this week, and I think it was more than 7, according to my strategy and some of the potential moves that I could have captured. And last week there were quite a few as well. I think this could have been a really good green month, even though it was a bit slower month than June. I am very optimistic, and we'll continue working at it. But for now, I think that's going to be the end of the video. It was a little bit longer recap this time because I wanted to go over my metrics, being 1 year in and kind of doing a 1-year anniversary type of thing. And I will also try to release a video for my hotkeys and my setup either today or tomorrow. We'll see how long it takes me to do that. But I will try to get that video out as well, just talking about my entire setup and giving you guys some resources if you find that you like it and you want to try it out. But that's going to be it for me. I'll see you back at it trading on Monday or in the next video. But until then, take care, stay green, and I'll see you next time. Peace.